Good afternoon to everyone. Morning, afternoon, I do not know which one. Yeah. But somewhere or the other in some part of the world, this is night, and somewhere it will be morning. Okay. Yeah. The earth is round. My name is Ojit, and I have been teaching in this particular subject for the last, I think, near about 2 decades, and I have been actively participating as a permanent faculty in the university college for near about 16 years. And I shall be studying along with you a portion of your civil service syllabi. Preliminary, it says the general issues on environmental ecology, biodiversity and climate change. And in the mains, the portion which I will be discussing here is conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment. So, these are the portion of the syllabus which I will be studying along with you. Last 3 days I have been engaged in a very strenuous exercise associated with some administrative work, was not sleeping and biological rhythm out of order, and I have this particular issue that the blood capillaries that supply blood to my right eyes is weak, sometimes it breaks. So, there is a red color, it is not infectious, right. So, those who are sitting in the front, please do not afraid of me. Okay. This will be here for another 2 days and it will subside. So, today we will try to look into this particular syllabus. I will not reiterate again how important the subject is and how it is boring and so on and so forth. You already know that the subject is important, and you also know that this particular portion of the UPSC syllabus is extremely theoretical and ultra boring in nature. Okay, right? So, many of you decided, nay, I do not want to study this, and now you take a U-turn and again studying it. But here in this particular class, I will exercise so that we started having interest in the subject, we started understanding the fundamentals, and we started applying to other boundaries. So, you push the boundary. So, this subject will really help you in pushing the boundary. Otherwise, you already know that interdisciplinary become indiscipline. Okay. So, that is wrong. So, this is one particular subject that will give you a very interesting flavor of what is called as multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary study, right. We will be talking about economics, we will be talking about development, we will talk about society, culture, how it is associated with environment, besides studying the science that is there in this particular subject. So, by and by, gone are the days when we were preparing this examination 22 years ago, 23 years ago. There used to be a lot of questions from biology, from chemistry. Those particular questions have been reduced, and the number of questions on environmental ecology has increased. Okay. So, that is the reality. Okay. There were the same number of questions, yes, there were 150 questions, but the proportionate representation of the subject were quite uniform. But today the number of questions that come from physics or the chemistry or biology has been compensated by the strength of environmental ecology. So, the subject is important. Out of, say, for example, 100 questions, near about 20 to 22 questions coming from this area is something that, thank you so much, is something that we cannot put in the back burner, right. It has to be attended, it has to be addressed well, and that is an exercise which I will be doing with you. Please remember, we will try today why this particular study is called as environmental ecology. We studied environment, we study ecology, but this is a compounded word. There is no hyphen, there is no full stop in between, there is no comma. So, your subject for the preliminary is environmental ecology, then it needs to be treated in a very specific manner, right. So, why it is called as environmental ecology, why not only environment, why not only ecology. We will try to look into this particular aspect. I will also be foregrounding by using some of the tools of this particular study, how this particular ideas can be useful for ideation in terms of climate change, in terms of biodiversity loss, in terms of pollution. This is supposed to be called as a trinity of this whole Anthropocene, right. Somebody will call this particular age as Anthropocene, age of human. In the earlier history of the earth, geological history of the earth, many extinction, many accidents, many hazards has happened, but those were mainly because of natural in origin. Those were something that is happened by natural phenomena, okay, which is beyond our control, but today's extinction is within our control, is designed by us, is because of us. That is why some of the people are very fond of calling today as the age of man or the Anthropocene, right. So, if human being is going to design this particular globe, okay, in a very sustainable manner, then we will try to look into this kind of tools, ecology, environment, how is it going to help us in designing a new future, right, or a livable or habitable planet. Okay. So, that is one of the important issues that many of the discourses on environmental ecology will talk about. Means conservation of what? Conservation of biodiversity, environmental pollution degradations and environmental legislation. So, this is a very crispy, okay, representation, very short representation of the syllabus which I will view with you. In this particular class, we will be trying to, we will surely cover every facets of this syllabus, but by following certain chronology, so that we can tell the story in a very complete manner, so that we can remember in a very sequential manner. So, we will do some kind of what we call as deduction way of learning. Okay. So, we will try to cut into pieces, so that it is consumable and understandable to us. Okay. So, it is always good to study something in a very systemic manner, but sometimes it is also equally important to pluck some of those particular facets and then stitch together, right. So, I can see some of the familiar faces with whom I had already taken the classes earlier. So, for those particular students, take it as a revision, okay, take it as a revision, and also please look into some kind of the inputs that you have already gained in between to share in the class. Okay. As far as one of the writings, one of the very interesting book which I will always, okay, share, okay, lovingly to my students in the beginning of environmental ecology class, is that of a book which is called as a Tales of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It was written in the middle part of the 19th century, around 1850s, 1860s. In that particular book, the first page talks about this is the best of the time. It is said this is the best of the time, and this is also the worst of the time, right. And exactly it is true. He was talking about in the middle portion of the 19th century, when you have already started collecting ammunition for the climate change at that time, right, steam engine, industrial revolutions. But that was also the time when romanticism also came into picture. But anyway, this particular guy was talking about this is the best of the time and this is the worst of the time. Just remember, a person 200 years ago is talking about, 300 years ago is talking about, see, our environmental conditions, our society is in the worst as well as the best. If you put these particular things in today's context, it is also still relevant. I would rather put in this way that it is more relevant than it used to be. Today is the best of the time, right. I was attending my class in the morning, then I spent 1 hour studying for this particular class, then I came in the metro, I could put medicine on my eyes, which is causing me trouble for the last 1 day, right, and it is an air conditioned system, and I have been informed by a very nice voice, okay, not once but twice, one in English and one in Hindi, that Karol Bagh is rich, so you have to get off. So, that is very interesting, right. So, one of the cleanest environment that I have, right, people were very gentle, it was the best of the time, but this is also the worst of the time, right. This is also the worst of the time. This is the time when we are not supposed to attend any colleges, universities or classroom offline because of the pandemic, right. So, this is also the worst of the time. Today the schools are closed because of the smog, because of the air pollution, right. So, that is also very interesting. Today you will find some of the cutting edge operation taking place on the little baby of 6 months old in Gangaram hospital right now, right. That doctors are doing it. A child is kept unconscious, 6 months old child, keeping unconscious for 6 hours is not a child's game, it's not a game of God even, but we are acting like a God. At the same time, we are also not knowing how this coronavirus came. We said it is a Chinese bat, came to the Wuhan, and then we know, who knows, we exactly do not know, right. People theorize so many things. So that is a very, and America, one of the greatest countries in the world, also was affected by corona more seriously than any other, right. Developed world, especially the Western countries, could not adapt to the 2, 3, 4 days of extreme rise in temperature in mid-July this year. They are not adapted. It became extremely hot, 47 degrees Celsius. Bahut garam ho gaya, they opened the window and it became more, because they were not adapting. Okay? Inside is cool. They said that by opening the window, it will be even more comfortable, but they don't know that air pressure and temperature does not work like that. When they open, the hot air comes. Even these particular countries, who seems to be the leader of the world, are not capable of adapting to the changes that has already been brought. So when you talk about climate change, you might have heard about adaptation, you might have heard about mitigation. Adaptation means the changes has already taken place. How are you going to survive here? I don't want to be a climate refugee. I don't want to come and stay in the paying guest to your place. I want to stay in my own home. But it will happen only when you are empowered in terms of knowledge, in terms of economic capability, right? In terms of your property, in terms of your politics, in terms of power. So we need to empower to adapt to this particular change condition. But when we talk about mitigation, it is about preventing that particular agency to come and act. But the agency is already there. It's there not for 1 or 2 days. It has been there from 1880s onward, right? 1880s, when the acceleration of the industrial revolution and steam engine came into picture, we started releasing more carbon dioxide than nature can absorb. And till 2023, we are doing it. So we are already doing. So how would you adapt to this? Okay, that's a very interesting. So today is the best of the time, and today is also the worst of the time. And in order to survive in these particular situations, what is your environmental ecology going to do? Do you think that after becoming a district magistrate, this particular knowledge of the climate change and biodiversity is going to help me in designing a new program in your area, right? That's something, okay. Can I use this particular tools of environmental ecology to empower the locals, so the local increase and diversify their livelihood activities? And that is exactly what your Narega is doing, right? It's all about taking care of the canals, taking care of the greeneries, afforestation, and people are doing it. It's not a joke, right? I think in India in the last 10 years, the maximum number of jobs created is associated with the green economy to a great extent, right? At least in the place where I come from, many of the villagers who have never attended any schools are not working as a daily wage earner in Delhi street. They are planting, they are taking care of the landslide, they are taking care of the community pond, they are doing afforestation with the district magistrates, and they are earning their income. And in the other time, they go to the field and work it. So please remember, this is one of the very important issues. And I am not claiming that this is the only issues. This is one of the issues that has to be addressed and that have to attract the good minds. Okay, that's why we are doing it. So today is the best of the time and today is the worst of the time. And in this particular context, our knowledge of the plants and animals and fungi and bacteria, and our knowledge of our surrounding, okay, and also our strategies, okay, needs to be well prepared in advance, so that we adapt and so that we also could mitigate, right. So that's exactly that we should be doing it. So to understand this particular subject, I shall be dividing this particular classes mainly into two. One, In the coming 1 week, we will be doing some of the driest part of this particular study, that is a study of the concepts associated with environment, ecology, ecosystem, followed by the applied portion that will help in the mains portion. How is biodiversity going to be conserved, right? And what is environmental legislation, what is environmental awareness, those things will be understood, those things will be more appreciated if you know the concept. And please remember, for the preliminary, in the last 10 years, the question that comes is from the concepts of the ecosystem. So, it is a very important portion again as far as the exam is concerned. In between, I will also share and quote some of the earlier question paper, or otherwise at the last day of our class, I will bring a baskets of questions and will discuss with you. So, this is what we are going to do it. First of all, we will try to understand what is meant by environment and what is meant by ecology and what is meant by ecosystem. So, let us try to understand these 3 terms which are normally used in a very synonymous manner, meaning many people tend to define each one of them as same in meaning. Okay. So, sometimes ecology is defined as environment, environment is ecosystem, acceptable, but if you probe into it, there are certain subtle differences between them, and that is the reason why your syllabus talks about environmental ecology. Otherwise, they might have been silent by saying ecology only, by studying environment only. So, when we talk about the environment, environment is defined very simply as the sum total of, or the totality of the physical, biological and chemical components of an organism. If A is an organism, whatever that surround this particular A, water, air, pressure, gravity, some other animal, some friends of A, B, all these things can be considered as an environment. Very simply, environment is the sum total of all the physical, biological and chemical components that surround an organism. If I ask you the question, what is an organism? An organism or the living body, what is that? A living organism will be very difficult to define in one sentence, but we can define a living organism by certain characteristics of life. Living organisms grow, living organisms develop, living organisms respond to the stimulus. These are some of the characters. They produce that is similar to them. We never expect that a dinosaur's egg will be incubated nicely and from there human beings come out. That will be quite a whimsical idea. From a particular reptilian egg, we expect that reptiles will come. From a chicken's egg, we know that frogs will not jump out of it. So, these are some of the characteristics of life. A tiger, when it is giving birth, the cubs will not be of a wolf, it will be of same. These are some of the characteristics of life. If you want to define what is life from the chemistry, then it says that a living organism is an open system that always tries to maintain a higher state of energy as compared to the surrounding. It is also a fantastic answer. You always maintain your body temperature at around 37 degrees Celsius. Whenever it is low, you try to eat and maintain this, and at the same time the heat is dissipating out from the body. So, it is also a machine which is an open. Why it is called as an open? There is an exchange of heat and chemicals between you and outside. But anyway, we will not go into the details. The basic definition of the environment is sum total of all the biological, all the chemical and physical components that surround an organism, right. So, this is the basic definition of an environment. Suppose if a particular organism, say A is there, then you talk about the physical non-living components, the chemical, and then you talk about the biological system that surrounds. Some people started arguing that when we talk about the environment, some of you who come from the branch of geography, the branch of geology also knows about a particular idea called determinism. Okay? An organism is determined to live in this particular area because the climatic condition is like that. Okay? It is determined to be safe and morph like this because this is what it should be. Determinism is also one of the very interesting theory. We will again not go into the details. What I want to say is, those group of people started asking the question, if you are a human, I am also the human, but you might be different because your environment is different from what I am. Okay? Determinism. So, environment is so important in determining the characteristics of the life. Okay? So, this also came into pictures. Then again some more people came that environment should not be packaged under this particular physical, biological and chemical. It should also have the behavior of others. I am surrounded by the behavior of others. So, they talk about social environment. Is it okay? If my other friend in the neighbor is having a bakery shop, my closing of the window and opening might be overlapping with his baking the bread or not, है ना? गाँव में जो होती है, बगल वाले में बेकरी है तो बेकरी में तो स्मोक निकलते हैं. Or for example, in Delhi, if the ground floor friend is having a restaurant and is cooking, it will be disturbing me. If I open my window, I would be welcoming the smells, which will stimulate me to eat more, but I don't have the right to go and, right. So I am also influenced by the behavior of others. Hence, we say that it is not only physical, biological and chemical, it is also the behavior of others. So, we started talking about what is called social environment, right. So, we happen to say that, so America is very clean, is a nice environment, but I will say that, okay, Chandni Chowk I stay, but it is not very clean like you, it does not have a big roads like you, but at least our students are not shooting each other in the school. So, my social environment is better, right. So, people tend to talk about like this. Okay. Somebody will say that, okay, it is very nice this particular city because the girls can go at 12 o'clock and have ice cream and can continue studying in the library, but what about your village? Okay. क्या बता रहे थे? शाम के 6 बजे सारे दुकान बंद, you cannot go out. It is still there in the, right. So, social environment also is one of the very important components. So, if you happen to look at what is environment today, it has got physical, biological, chemical and social dimension also. Why do we have environmental laws? That is very much because we have a social environment, right. Why do you have environmental law? Why should you have a tiger project for the tiger whom you do not know? And you are happily writing sitting in Delhi. Yes, in Madhya Pradesh, in Kuno, cheetah should not be introduced because we have our own leopard. This cheetah will come out, and the local people out there who have been affected by the other charismatic animal will now be again disturbed by the introduction of this particular animal whose behavior we do not know, right. I think it will be so funny that whenever I go to the kitchen, one of the leopard is waiting for me. Okay, that will be very, very dangerous, right. So, it should not be. Abhi ho raha hai, that is a present issue in Kuno. Okay. Chambal you have an issue, 50% you give for sen mining. Okay. Please do not look at the sen alone. Sen is also the breeding ground for many animals, right. It is a home, it is a nesting ground for many animals, right. And that animal might in turn be responsible for 50% of the forest to be green. They might be dispersing the seed, they might be controlling the herbivores. Those are very, very important that we need to know. Anyway, so environment is not only about the physical, biological and chemical, but it is also about social, it is about behavior. You are surrounded by the behavior, right. Whatever you are doing is because of the social behavior. Why the cheetah is running so fast? Why the cheetah should be running so fast? Are they competing for some Olympic games or something? Okay. The cheetahs are running very fast because the animal on whom they depend also runs very fast. Who is that? The Thompson gazelle, wildebeest, they run very fast. Our cheetah cannot run 200 meters with the same speed. He can run 150, 200, halat kharab ho jata hai, blood pressure. Okay? But the Thompson gazelle, which is the favorite food of the cheetah, can run 40 kilometers per hour for 4 hours continuously. So that cheetah has to run very fast, very quickly. So he has to be a sprinter. Within that 50 meters, 100 meters, if you cannot capture that Thompson gazelle, you will be starving. So you have to ambush, you have to run, right? So it's a very interesting. Why are you making rules and regulation for them? Now the question is, why should we worried about the sand mining in Chambal? Why should we be happy when 90% of the Western Ghat is declared as an eco-sensitive zone? What is wrong here, right? Why do we celebrate the Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve? Had not it been converted into some kind of hydroelectric power project of the country, a big show. Okay. Because we live in a society. We want to live happily with others, right? We live in a society. That is the reason why. Otherwise, all the rich men will be given a license and they can own an island, and whatever you want to do, you do it. Okay. Even the government of India, who owns this particular land, cannot go to the Andaman and Nicobar island where the dormant volcanoes are there to do some kind of construction. It might be having a lot of sand, lot of this particular raw materials, but government enact rules and regulation that no, you cannot go there and do this business. It should be left as a sanctuary. It should be left as a wilderness, because we want to live in a society. We don't want to create any problem that will result in mass hazard. We live in a society, that is why you have environmental laws coming into picture, right. So, these are all entangling each other, but yes, environment is like that. Today this environment is studied under two, one is called environmental studies, another one is called as environmental science. We are so crazy, right? We always want to confuse ourselves. This is science. Oh, you are environmental science. You can go to GRF net conducted by CSIR. You have done environmental studies. You go for UGC GRF net. होते हैं academia में इस तरह. What is very interestingly, when we talk about the studies, we mainly talk about the social environment. Okay, studies. And when we talk about the science, we talk about the physical, biological and chemical components. What is dissolved oxygen level? What is the quality of the air, right? This is what we do it in the environmental science. How much carbon dioxide is present that results in this much of the increase, right? What is acid rainfall? How is it constituted? What is ozone layer depletions? So, we talk in the environmental science, it is about botany, zoology, geology, mathematics, right. And when we talk about the studies, it is about politics, environmental politics. It talks about environmental history. Okay. What was the condition of the wetlands in Delhi during Akbar's time or Mughal Sultanate? And this is what some peoples are doing to restore by enacting biodiversity park, Aravalli biodiversity park, Yamuna biodiversity park. Kejriwal is talking about 26 thriving wetlands in Delhi. You need to anchor on some point, right? Because the environmental historians claim that this is a part of the Aravalli and this particular part was a wetland. The Yamuna floodplain extend up to Jahangirpuri, Azadpur. Okay, it's a floodplains. So, people are trying to create it. By doing what? Environmental history. For example, you already know that Mohenjo-daro Harappan civilization came into extinction most probably due to some climate change issue or otherwise shrinking of the rivers in the Indus Valley or changing the course of the river. That is the history of the environment, right. India taken up this particular step in 1972. What was the history of that particular point? It's very, very interesting. Okay. So, this is about the studies and this is about the science, but remember it is always better to push the boundary, to integrate these two. Otherwise, one will claim that mine is the best, someone will claim that mine is the best, and we will die claiming that I am the best. We will not die shaving the others. Okay. So, this should not be done. So, we will try to integrate this in this particular study of environment. Now, let us talk about ecology. Okay. What is meant by ecology and what are the things associated with ecology. Right. Remember the word ecology, please define the term and then I will explain. Okay. Please write. Ecology is the science of studying, is a science of studying the relationship or the relationships among the components of the environment or oblique ecosystem. Okay. If there is a relationship, then the study is what is called as ecology. So, ecology is a science of studying the relationship between plants and animals and water body, right. Plants and a particular condition of the soil or a particular honeybee that come to suck the nectars of the flower. What is the relationship? Okay. Sometimes we might be saying that the honeybee is simply plundering the resources from the flower. It is absolutely not. Many a time the honeybee is one of the agency to bring the fertilized seed to the flower, which is what we call as pollination. It is something like a give and take. You take this particular sugary syrup from me, but please do this service for me. Many a time plant male part and female part cannot meet each other in a very leisurely manner. You need somebody to bring that particular two components together, the male part of the flower and female part of the flower, then they fertilize, then they form the seed, and that is useful for germination, right. So, the life of a particular flower is very much well situated in the activities of the honeybee. Honeybee is also taking the advantage, knits nectar for making the honey, for making the honeybee colonies, to give birth new ones, right. So, it is an example of mutualism, right. One is helping other one is also helping you in return. Okay. Cooperation is there in the nature. Okay. So, if there is a relationship among the components of the living organism, okay, of the non-living components of that particular part where the living organism is there, that relationship is called as ecology. Okay. Sometimes we use this particular word in a very, very loose manner. Okay. I do not know the ecology of his presence here today in Sri Ram. And somebody says, oh, he is coming to take the class. Now the relationship is built, right. I am not coming here to watch what's a television episode or I am coming here to meet my students. That is the relationship. Like this, every plant, every animal, every mushroom that you have in the nature, please ask the question, why are you here? They will give which answer? Ecological answers, right. Ecological answers. It is not something a big God is coming and putting, okay, you should be in Madagascar, you should be in India, you go to Sri Lanka, that you are better in Pakistan. No, absolutely. Okay. They are there because they are making the relationship. They are there because they are making the relations. But when this particular idea came into picture, okay, in the beginning of the 1900, when the Romanticism started, okay, in full swing, Romanticism means those particular fellow who were expert in literature, and they mainly talk about the beauty of nature. Robert Frost, okay, William Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, John Keats, these people. William Wordsworth is also considered to be one of the best Lake District poets in the world, right. So, he talks about what? He talks about so many, there were clouds, okay. Even for that matter, who was the person who wrote Avigyan Sakuntalam? Kalidasa was also a romantic guru, right. You might have already heard about this particular story about Yaksha telling story to the cloud in Meghadutam, okay, bringing the information. It seems that he knows everything about the, okay, cloud. Later on, the climatologists and geographers, oh, this is a cumulus cloud, this is that cloud, right. So, like this in England also, William Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, they were writing among each other during that time, because it was during that particular time people who were, okay, who were coming out of their study and started observing plants and animals, what we call them as naturalists. What is naturalist? Whatever you find in nature, they started documenting. ये पौधे ऐसे हैं, ये जानवर ऐसे हैं, वो जमीन पे रहते हैं, ऊपर रहते हैं, ऐसे उड़ते हैं, ये बादल ऐसे छाया हुआ होता है, रेनबो ऐसे हो, right? Then you talk about the Benjamin Franklin while playing with the kite, come out with the static electricity and say that no need of feeling fear about the thunder god, right. In Greeks and Romans, they established big temples to pray to the thunder god, so that it brings good harvest, so that it does not bring more of the lightning. But these are the fellow who said, no, electric, it's not like that. If you are combing your hair, dry hair or woolen clothes, it attracts something. That is what static electricity is talking about. He was playing the kite and touched the string with the limb of a particular frog which was dying, then it started moving. Then no, there is nothing called soul and everything, because of electricity, the muscles are, right. So, these are the group of people. So, there were two schools of thoughts. One is romantic, another one is naturalist, okay. So, there was a continuous fight. If you happen to read the biography and the letters shared among P.B. Shelley and William Wordsworth, they were scolding this naturalist like anything. Who is called as the father of binomial nomenclature? Human beings is called as Homo sapiens sapiens, right. Cro-Magnon man, Homo sapiens. Tiger is called as Panthera tigris, okay. Allium cepa is onion, is a universal name. So, Carolus Linnaeus was a naturalist from Sweden, okay. He was the first person who started giving scientific names to the animals and plants, unique, no confusion, and he classified them by studying and comparing different forms of life. So, they will be digging, taking out the roots, measure with inchy tape. They will be going to the forest and will find when does it bloom, when does it die, when does it pollinate, where does it grow, right, how much of the rainfall is required. These are naturalists. Then they started going abroad, okay. Some of the crazy monarch want to develop gardens which have all the funny flowers of the world. So, they invest a lot of money, and that is how the big gardens came into picture. They have gone into such a crazy that still today you have Royal Botanical Garden in Kew in London, the largest garden in the world, which have ginkgo, which have tomato, which have everything of the tropical, okay, by making greenhouse. Such an investment. They are creating a tropical condition right in the middle of the European countries, right. So, it is a very interesting. So, these are the people who are going and studying how they really look like in nature, how they function in nature, okay. But these romantic gurus are not happy. So, P.B. Shelley was writing letter to William Wordsworth. Look, Mr. Wordsworth, these particular funny peoples are good for nothing. They should be called as the littlest. They know only little, they don't know the big things. Okay? They absolutely do not know the big things. They are called as the littlest. They only know how to go to the burial ground, dug out the mother who have been buried 3 months ago, and will count the number of bones and say that my mother is also a human being. This is the kind of things that they were communicating. William Wordsworth know that I know more about the clouds, I know more about why this nightingale is singing, why the fish is like this. So, they were talking about what? The romantics. So, there were lot of problems. During this particular point of time, a great Prussian hero who is called as Alexander Humboldt. Alexander Humboldt come in the scene. Alexander Humboldt's brother was an education minister. His mother and father were serving the king of Prussia. Lot of money. They were aristocrat family. Alexander Humboldt was unmarried. He was a crazy guy who always want to do experiment in the field. He is from Prussia. He was well funded. He went to the colonies of the European countries, South America, New World. He was the first person who measured the height of the Andes mountain. He is the first person who measured the temperature of the active volcano. He is a crazy guy. Okay. His library will be much bigger than some of the departments of the university of the country. And very interestingly, being a person from powerful family, early in the morning he will be having breakfast with the greatest poet of his time. Okay. He is a science. Okay. He is a science man, he is a geographer, he is an explorer. He comes from a rich family and he has friendship from the literature, he has friendship from science, he has friendship in the power. So, his words was listen well, right, and he was doing empirical study. Some of the greatest European poets, he will be having dinner and lunch whenever he comes back, and they will be talking about the things that he had saw. And please remember, this is the first guy who came out with a plan map, not a political map. He was an amazing person. He was climbing the Andes mountain from the foothills to the peak. Along with his team, he was collecting the plants, he was drawing them, and he found what? As and when he climbed up and up and up, there is a change in the vegetation. It's a fantastic idea. Now, what you know? The different groups of plants and animals found in different parts of the world is not designed by some god. It is due to the physical, biological phenomena associated with that particular height, longitude, latitudes. This is what? This is a plant map, and still today it is one of the celebrated classic discovery for naturalists. He wanted to come to India and measure the Mount Everest, but he had already assumed that Mount Everest will be near about 8,840 meters or so, and exactly it came out to be true. Being a German and Prussian, he was never given permission to come to India by the British India. So, we lose that contributions, but he was a sharp person. In South America, more number of children are named after Alexander Humboldt. Have you heard about Humboldt current? This is the guy. He wrote a book called Cosmo. He was the first person who said that look, different regions of the world are having different plants and different animals because they are adapted to that particular conditions. That was a new idea at that time. And please remember, Alexander Humboldt has two of the great admirers, young scholar at that time, young. One is called as Ernest Haeckel, Another one is none other than the Charles Darwin. So, whenever this particular guy comes from his South American expedition, these two guys will run towards him to listen him, to talk to him, to learn from him. Okay. Ernest Haeckel and Darwin. Darwin in 1859 wrote The Origin of the Species by Means of Natural Selection. Darwin is having an idea that look, it is not by any other factor but nature that created all these differences, right. So, Darwin went to Galapagos Island, and so many of the plants and many of the animals, especially a particular kind of a bird called as a finches, we call it Darwin's finches now, which is found in Galapagos, right. So, he saw this particular finch in one island, another finch in another island, another finch in another island, and when he collected all of them, they were not exactly similar. You might have used a particular instrument in your physics class called as vernier caliper that measured the height of the beak. In one particular island, the bird's beak is thick. In one island, it is pointed and long. In one island, it is blunt. Then he was just crazy. Why these particular birds in Galapagos Islands are not having similar sizes? Then he realized that this different sizes of the beak is not because of some kind of curse from the god, it is because of the kind of food items available, right. In some flowers you have to consume nectars, in some island more of the nuts are falling and you need to crack them. So, this design that you carry is because of the nature, is not because of any creator, right. That is what he gained. So, he went there, he came to England, he did lot of experiment, and after working for 5 years, he come out with a thesis called as Origin of the New Forms of Life by Means of Natural Selection. Very interestingly, at that particular time, another guy called Alfred Russel Wallace. Alfred Russel Wallace. Some of you who are very frequently looking in the world map, you will know that in Australia, in Lombok, Celebes, there in Indonesia, please try to read that particular, look at that particular straits of the ocean. There is a particular place called Wallacea, is given, okay, thanks because of this. What is this particular guy doing at that time? He was collecting butterflies from Southeast Asian countries and sending it to England. He was a hardworking chap, educated, but come from a poor family. So, he came to the Southeast Asian countries, he went to South America also, and he was collecting the butterflies, nicely packed, identified and sent to England to earn his livelihood. It's very interesting. At one point of time in England, during this particular point of time, one butterfly was costing around 25 pounds. So, in today's month term, it might be so costly, right? So, animal trafficking already because of the market over there. So, he was suffering from malaria time and again, and he used to have lot of quinine, then struggle in the rainy jungles of Southeast Asian countries. And after working in the Southeast Asian countries in the northern forests of Australia, he realized one thing. I have gone to many places, I have seen so many funny animals and plants, and this is all because of the geographical condition, because of the climatic condition, because of the topography of the region. It is not because of some will of the god. This is what he was writing to Darwin. Darwin, I have gone to many places and now I realize that different forms of life are created not by God, but it is because of the adaptation to a particular area. At that particular time, Darwin was already in the final stage of his thesis to speak in front of the Royal Society, and this later came. It was a shocker. Okay, I have been working for 5 years on this. My wife has stopped contacting me. Okay, Darwin was very fond of his youngest son, but Darwin's wife never allowed his daughter to go in the library of Darwin, because his wife was very religious, very orthodox, right, from a very rich family and God loving. But when Darwin, after coming back from Galapagos, is saying this is not the God, it is the nature which have created. So his wife was very angry. I will be meeting you only when you are out of the library, right. So recently a new letter was discovered by some of this particular Darwin researchers, that in that letter hidden in the corner, it was written to his wife, look my dear wife, I love you more than any other else. But I also cried upon this later many times, because I know that you are not going to believe what I am going to say. And what he said, it was not your God, but it's the nature which has created all, right. So it's a very interesting. So he was, but that time there was one fellow called Huxley. He is called as the bulldog of Darwin. He said, no, Darwin bhai sahab, this particular funny fellow has gone there to collect the butterflies, and he is not working on this particular thesis. Yeah, he has a very idea, it should be accepted, that's all. But Darwin did not, okay, succumb to it. He said his idea and my idea is same. So Origin of the New Species by Means of Natural Selection was read by Darwin in Royal Society, and it was written or co-authored by Darwin and Wallace. That's a kind of greatness. Afterwards, this Wallace become what is called zoo geographer. You know what is zoo geographer? Distribution of the animals in different parts of the world. What governs them? So that's how he said Australian animal and Indonesian animals, they are different. But in that particular link, in those particular small islands belong politically to Indonesia. But those animals were liking Australia. So you are not talking about political boundary, you are talking about animal distribution boundaries. So we have given that particular, okay, group of islands as a Wallacea. Okay. So you see the Bali, Lombok, Celebes. So that is a Wallacea, that is in the world map you might be seeing. So anyway, now what about this guy? This guy was also this idea that look, there is a relationship, just like our godfather Alexander, okay, Humboldt have said that when he climbed up from the foothills to the peak of the Andes mountain, there is a relationship between that particular plant, between that insect in a particular area of a particular forest, of a particular height of the mountains. It is there because of the relationship, please remember that. It is there because it is having some relationship. Okay, Royal Bengal tiger is there in the Sundarban Delta, right? Because it is doing some activity there. It is having some relationship there, right? Unlike the other tigers in Panna, Bandhavgarh, okay, this particular tiger is making a relationship in the Sundarban Delta, feeding on the animals that fits in the marine water, okay, hiding among the bushes of mangrove trees. Gives a relationship, right? Why those particular honeybees are humming around? They're sucking the nectar, relationship. Okay? So this particular guy, after studying Alexander Humboldt, okay, came to realize that there is a relationship between the living and the non-living, and also among the living. This is what we have described now, right? What is that? Ecology is the study of the relationship among the components of the environment ecosystem. So this word ecology is credited to this guy Ernest Haeckel, this German scientist. Okay. So this is, you know, historical context, how that particular idea came into them. So Ernest Haeckel was trained as a doctor, but he never wanted to become a doctor. Okay. He always wanted to go to sea, swim, collect the animals, okay, collect the butterflies, collect the beetles. That's what he was crazy about. He was not at all interested in the taking care of the peasants. But his father was a celebrated physician of his time, so he wanted his son to be a doctor. He accepted the challenges and he became a doctor. But he was never a successful doctor. He was never able to sit very nicely in his clinic. It is rather his father who takes care of his patients, right? So father, okay, got fed up and said that, "Bhai, I am quite happy that you learned the subject that I have chosen. From now onwards, you do whatever you like." So he came away from home and he went to Naples in Italy, and he started diving because the water is warmer, not very cold, and he used to collect lot of samples of marine organism, especially what we call as radiolarian. They are also called as minor phyla, and radiolarians are the indicator of the presence of fossil fuels in ocean. It's very interesting. if you find more of the fossils of radiolarian, there are chances that there will be crude oils down. So, when you do the offshore drilling, people assess by using this kind of indicators. Radiolarians are small animals, nicely protected by the calcium carbonate, okay, very small. So, what he did was he collected those particular plants, put under the microscope and started drawing and giving color to it. And please remember, this particular Ernest Haeckel's drawings were fantastic. He can be considered as an all-time best science illustrator of the world. His drawings was amazing, and his drawings are used consistently by architects still today while they design houses and buildings. Some of the animals, their coverings were so impacts. So many of the Gothic architect buildings were copied from the drawings of this Ernest Haeckel. So he discovered near about 600 different species of radiolarian. Very interesting. Later on he became the professor of zoology and he retired, and he was the first person who said there is a relationship between living and the non-living, and between living and living in a given environment. And the study of the relationship is what we call as ecology. Is it okay? So, what is ecology? Ecology is the study of the relationship between you and me here in this particular system. Is it okay? So, ecology. Let us try to understand the types of or the categories of ecology. Categories of ecology. Okay. Categories of ecology. Ecology, there are hundreds of branches of ecology, please remember. There is a mental ecology also now. There is eco-philosophy coming up. Nowadays we are coming out with eco-sociology, ecological economics, political ecology, plant ecology, animal ecology, human ecology. Okay. Lots of branches of ecology. What do you do in ecology? In political ecology, I will study about the politics of green, politics of what? The new ventures coming up, okay, that affects the surrounding, right? Green politics, talk about it. But when we talk about the ecological economics, I will try to give the money value to some of the natural products and the processes. Is it okay? We all are getting free of course oxygen because of plants doing the photosynthesis, right or wrong? Yes. But if these particular plants are not giving oxygen, then what will you do? You will go to the hospital or you will take the help of oxygen cylinder. How much is the cost of 1 cylinder of oxygen? And how much of that particular oxygen is getting free of cost from the nature? If you started giving money value to those services, nature can be treated as a capital. Nature is a capital, right? For example, if you are having a fish farm, you have to invest a lot of money. But if you are fishing from Yamuna, you don't invest it. But you earn income out of it by selling that particular fish of 2 kilograms. Now the question is, who have reared that particular fish to attain 2 kilograms? I think it's a river. So the services, you try to equate. So that's the reason why people like Constanja says that if all the services of the nature is also counted in the GDP, the world GDP will be increased by $33 trillion. But this we are not valuing it. So people are now talking about valuation of the ecological services. It's very interesting. So a lot of branches of ecology is there, but as far as your environmental ecology is concerned, जो आपके syllabus में है, okay, the categories of environmental ecology only we are talking about. Okay, environmental ecology can be of 3 types. Okay, if I am talking about the ecology, if you are studying the ecology, if you are studying the relationship of only one species, of only one variety, or only one type of organism. This is called as ecology, study of one species, or we can say one type of organism. Suppose I study only and only the elephants of savanna. I want to know where do they go when they migrate. That will be called as ecology, or we can say example population ecology. Population ecology. So, population ecology is the example of ecology. Okay? Only one. If you are doing only one individual, that is also ecology. If you are studying one particular species, that is also, because we all are individuals belonging to the same species, human, right? Homo sapiens. If you are studying only tiger, when does it breed, how many babies are born, what are they eating, you just observe them and you count them, you are doing population ecology of tiger. Example of ecology. If you are studying the ecology of more than one species, in an ecosystem, this is what is called a synecology. Example is community ecology. Community is a group of population. Community ecology. Synecology is the study or is the ecology of more than one species. Example is, so synecology's example is community ecology. What will I do here? I will try to find out how this particular tiger is interacting with the other predators, what kind of foods are being attempted to be eaten by them, okay? How is this particular niche differentiation taking place, at what particular seasons, how many types of plants are flowering out of so many, all these things are under community ecology. Community ecology is also talking about another very interesting term. Can you see from the syllabus? There is a term that is already mentioned in your syllabus. Yes, diversity. Diversity is a characteristic of community. We do not have a diversity when we talk only one species, right? One tiger we are talking about. But when you talk about two animals, you talk about two different types, you now started studying the diversity. Okay? So, diversity is one particular term which is associated with community. We will talk about alpha diversity, species richness, species abundance, and so on and so forth. The third one is more about the deterministic way of looking into it, but anyway, can I imagine polar bear in Delhi? Why? Temperature. What else? Yes, temperature is one of them. What else? Food, yes. We do not have those particular fish on which they are hunting, right? What else? We might be not having a floating ice. Habit. Yes. And what else? So, when you imagine about the polar bear, what do you imagine? Do you imagine about Himalaya? Do you imagine about Antarctica? No, Antarctica we imagine when we talk about penguin, but we imagine about Arctic, which is maximum covered by ice in many parts of the season, then it melts, right. So, it is very interesting. So, what I want to say, if you want to study a particular animal, we started thinking about the nature also, where are they available, right. Suppose for example, if you want to work on the behavior of the giant panda, where will you go? China. In China there is a place called Wulong National Park, but if you want to see the red panda, where will you go? Red panda, वो तो है ही नहीं, ये है कहाँ पे? Eastern Himalaya, okay? Eastern Himalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Nepal. This is Bhutan, red panda. Meaning, our study of the relationship of the animals, plants, microbes and its habitats will be incomplete without studying the place where they are found, okay? The place where they are found. So, that is the reason why we have another categories of environmental ecology, which is called as ecosystem ecology. Ecosystem ecology, or also called as habitat ecology. Our friend has already rightly said, she said habitat, okay? Ecology. Habitat is the place where an organism is going to be living there naturally, okay? I am going to use around 45, 46 of the terms in the next 1 week. So, please bear with me. And what is the most funny thing about ecology is we do not have any other replacement. So, it is easy for you. So, once you know those particular terms correctly, that is all. Okay? And these terms are more than 200 years old, 100 years old. That means how strong this particular concept is. Nobody have argued on it. Nobody has disproven it to, has proven to be wrong. So, it is still correct. So, easy for us. But it might be a new terms, that is why we think that is very boring and dry. But please remember, without being an ecologist, we might have already been killed. Human beings might have already been extinct. Please remember, our grandfathers and mothers are even more better environmentalists and ecologists than us. And their forefathers might be even more. I have known the theories and I have known certain terms to a particular phenomena, but the phenomena was experienced much before us by them, right? If my four grandfathers did not know that ye chawal hai, ye aise hoti hai, and it has to be domesticated like this, agriculture might have not been born yet, right? And how do you domesticate a particular plant for agriculture? After knowing the behavior of the plant. How do you domesticate a particular animal, whether it is a dog or a honeybee or a yak? By studying its behavior. So, let us celebrate that our forefathers are having such a tremendous knowledge about the ecology of the area. And if they did not know, they might have been eaten by tiger, they might have been killed by certain snake bite, they might have eaten certain poisonous substances and might have been killed. But it did not happen because they study their environment, and that is how we are here. नहीं तो क्या होगा? अभी viral चल रहा है. I will be acting, I will be a teacher in the form of a dinosaur, and you all will be small dinosaurs, okay? And human beings might be in museum, and a dinosaur teacher will say, young man, you go there and bring out human specimen. Let us study about them. We might be studying. These will come be extinct 35 million years ago. Somebody asks, why they have gone extinct? And the professor will tell, look, they have a very small teeth, good for eating chocolates. And see ours is so big, okay? We can crack the bone of all the bones of the world. This might be one of the, So, it is not happening. It's rather the dinosaur become extinct and we teach about them. And that is because you learn from the environment. How to save ourselves from the cold, how to save ourselves from the heat, okay? How to produce more energy without investing your time to the hunting ground. So, there are some of these particular tribal groups called as in Aikung tribe or the Bushman or the Pygmy in Kalahari desert. They still are depending on hunting. So, the children can they just take out a lump of sand and just release, and by looking at a direction where the sand is falling, then they sense about the presence of a particular animal, and with arrow they are going and hunting. Still they are doing it. And you might be thinking that their life is very precarious. Nobody knows what will happen. And if This particular people who know about the ecology of that area so much, and if the climate change is unpreventable, it is going to affect more to them than us. आपके लिए एयर कंडीशन सिस्टम है, उसके लिए क्या? नथिंग. उसके लिए क्या होगा? द हंटिंग ग्राउंड विल बी destroyed. The animal will no longer be found. That's why I said climate change is gender bias. Climate change is bringing more gaps between poor and rich. So it's a very serious, okay, those people who are there. And that's why today we are talking about traditional ecological knowledge has to be, okay, has to be protected. Today we have traditional ecological knowledge or traditional knowledge digital library, we are digitizing it. Because this particular group of men in Kalahari for millions of years are living without any complaint to any parliament of the world. So they have been living sustainably by using the tools of the environment and ecology, knowledge they have. So can we also derive some knowledge from them so that we also live happily with our system? That's again a new idea, it's very interesting. So these are the three examples of the study of ecology. Habitat ecology, you can talk about river valley, you can take it, or the grassland you can take it, forest you can take it as a whole, you, or ocean, okay, marine ecologists will be studying there. Coral reefs habitats is studied, continental shelf is studied. So these are habitat ecology. Three categories. There are certain laws and certain principles. There are certain principles of ecology and there are certain laws. What is meant by principles? When we talk about the principles in general, principle is some phenomena which can be replicated, which can be duplicated, which can be proven true. Okay? Newton's law of motion. Okay? Right? People use like this. And in the context of principle, can you name some? Principle. When we talk about principle, Brownian motion, say for example. What is principle? Principle is something that can still be proven in different phases, different areas, right? But when we come to the context of law, it is something that experiment ki zarurat nahi hai. Okay? Principles, you can still experiment on it. Okay? You can find certain changes in it. But law is something that we have considered it to be very true, okay, and can be taken as it is, because multiple replication might have done, multiple duplication might have done, multiple experiment might have done on it. Anyway, so there are certain principles of ecology which is doable, you can experiment on it, you can also prove, and you may try to disprove also. So principles of ecology, certain features which are there when we talk about ecology. Number one, ecology is understandable in the light of evolution. In the light of evolution. Okay. What does it mean? That's why it is called the principle. You can prove. Okay. Ecology is understandable in the light of evolution. Evolution means adaptation. Okay. I will give an example. There are certain patterns we have found out. This is Andes mountain, this kind of plants are present here, this kind of plants, but as and when you climb up, there are some, and then here you don't find anything, and in between there might be some conical. I am not saying that this variety is not found here, but in this particular range this conical trees are more. Okay. It is something like this is saffron, this is white and this is green, and you have a particular pattern, and that pattern brings you, okay, the patterns of the flag of India, right. So, there is a pattern. So, the distribution of these different plants in this particular mountain, in the world map, this mountain is represented by few coordinates, है ना, longitude, latitude, this position GPS में यही है. But if you come here, I am represented by a certain height. As and when you come from the foothills to the higher regions, temperature become hotter or colder, become colder. Okay. And because of the shape of this and the presence, the precipitation rate might be differ. Here more rainfall is coming, here less rainfall is coming. You have the great Himalayan range to prove it, right. So, these patterns, these particular plants are found here, few kilometers up, these plants are found. This pattern, how are you going to explain this pattern? This pattern can be only explained by what we call as adaptation to the climatic condition that is there, right. So, that adaptation brings you a particular pattern, and that is what we are studying in natural selection. That is what we are studying in Darwinism. Okay. Darwin's talk about what? A particular organism which is capable of adapting, which is capable of giving birth, they will be selected by nature, right, as simple as that. If a particular organism is reproducing, completing the physiological limits, eating its own food, having the mating partners, taking care of the kids, is extending, and the species is not extinct simply because it is able to complete its life's activities to the nature, and nature is selecting that. Nature is so blind, nature is not going to give lot of ideal environment to you in the expense of the loss of someone. No, nature said that this is the condition I am prevented. If you want to adapt, you adapt. If not, you get out of it. Okay. So, these patterns is understandable in the like of evolutions. We have some more example to give why the polar bears are looking like that. Okay. What about the grizzly bear? What about the spectacled bear that India has? They all belong to mammals, they all belong to bear, but why do they look different? And evolution, adaptation is the only thing, is the only tool for the time being to give the answer. So, in ecologists, what is ecology? Study of the relationship. Abhi aap puche, why are you having the relationship? Okay. Adaptation. Okay. It is a poison for you, but it is a food item for me. The poison for you is a food for me. Why? Because I have developed certain enzymes in my body can dissolve that poison. Okay. Why do you develop that particular enzyme? Without that I will die. I have started developing that character to be adapted to that particular relationship or the place. So, please remember, it is understandable in the like of evolutions. Number 2. These are some of the general, okay. The principles of ecology is, ecology is a science. What does that mean again? The concepts of ecology can be experimented, can be proven. When we talk about the science, we talk about what? Similarity of the findings. Okay? There is a pattern, that is what? Similarity. I might be working with cockroach, I might be working with a grasshopper, I might be working with the butterflies, I might be working with any insects. An insecticide has the capacity to kill insects. Whether all the insects might be funny looking, one is flying, one is living in water, one is digging the burrow, but it is working to all of them. Like this particular concept of ecology can be experimented and can be understood with the help of model. We are going to do this in the second chapter. You have the J-shaped population growth, you have the S-shaped population growth, exponential growth of the population. Okay. Indian population is more represented by the young ones, so it will be rising up exponentially in certain time. Then there will be asymptote. Then you might have talked about something called as demographic dividends. There is a model. So, ecology is also about the models. Please remember, in the study of the relationship, number third, telling stories is dangerous. Telling stories is dangerous. What does that mean? It is said in ecology that whatever stories that you tell should be ecologically, and it should be biologically, and it should be true, okay? And it should not be something which is whimsical. So, the stories that you find in Aesop's fable or Panchatantra is not going to work here. So, I always give this example. Why are the peacock dancing? We tend to come with the conclusion that peacocks are dancing because they are very happy. Peacocks are dancing because the rain is going to happen. This is what we learn from Panchatantra and our grandfathers and mothers, but that is a wrong answer. Okay? If this is the reality, then we will be putting, in the form of the director to the meteorological department a peacock, right? 5 years old peacock is the new director of the meteorological department. Whenever he dances, India is going to have rain. It cannot happen. The peacock is dancing because it is attracting the female with its dance, and also the plumages that indicates the health of that particular male. Otherwise, having such an elaborate plumages is a hindrance to the flight, is a disturbance to the flight. You cannot fly long distances with a heavy plumages. Number two, these heavy plumages will attract the attention of predators. It's saying that, come and eat me, I am here dancing. Okay. Because predators are always looking out for the food items, right? But without this, the females are not attracting them. So, that is a real story. The peacocks are dancing because the peahen selects the peacock which is dancing. So, these are the stories that, so telling stories is dangerous, so one should know. Okay. Multiple constraints are there on every species. Multiple constraints are there in every species. On every species, multiple constraints are there on every species. There is no species which is said that the best. Okay. Everyone is under the pressure. There is no single individual who is devoid of environmental pressure. What are the environmental pressure? Finding of the food, finding of the shelter, finding of the mating partners, finding of the place to take care of the young ones, right? Finding a place where the competition is less, finding a place where the parasites are less. It's very difficult. I cannot also say that tomorrow the Delhi's temperature should be 26 degrees Celsius and it should be sunshine. It will never happen, right? But if that happens, then certain organisms are going to fine tune their breathing. Okay. आपने देखा होगा, in the month of May and June, I don't find any of the mosquitoes singing. But on those particular days, if there is a cloudy and rainfall happens, all of a sudden mosquitoes started coming in your room. So, they are waiting for an opportunity. Everyone is under pressure. Okay. So, that you must know when you study ecology. Another very interesting thing in ecology is emergent property principle prevails. Okay. Emergent property principle prevails. What does it mean? I will just simply explain. This may not be directly coming in exam, but this will help in understanding the subject. Okay. Emergent property principle का मतलब is a very loose example. I have my fingers on the left hand and is used for holding this pen. Okay. If you cut this particular hand here, do you think that the fingers will still be holding the pen? No. So these fingers started holding the pen only when it is connected to this individual self. So this individual start thinking, this individual start talking, this individual start writing. It is an example of emergent property. I cannot write without my hand, but the hands cannot write without being connected to this. So a property of writing that is there in this finger comes up only when it is in a system, right? Emergent, new property emerges, meaning when I am talking only about tiger and now I am talking with other predators in savanna, new property comes up, new relationship started building up. Okay. So this is what is called as emergent property principle. Please remember, I will not go into the details of this principle. This is just to foreground. This is just to make some kind of boundary. This is just to train you to think in this particular manner when we talk about the environment ecology. Okay. So I will be rather sharing here the laws of ecology. Number one, there is no wastage in nature. There is no wastage in nature. Okay. What is meant by this term? The laws. This is always true. Okay. There is no wastage in nature. We always know this particular story that somebody's music is somebody's noise, right? You may not wish to listen a particular folk song, but that particular folk song is a compulsory listening item for somebody. Somebody may not find interesting to listen the ghazals of some ghazal maestro like J.O.K.SINGH. Okay? The one who is listening Michael Jackson may not wish to listen somebody. Okay? So like this, some of the organism is going to depend on the waste of somebody, right? I will give you two examples. The first one, very common, is that of the animal which is called as dung beetle. On 21st of August, I click a very nice video and the pictures of this particular animal, and while transferring to my hard disk, I committed a grand mistake of deleting it, so it will never come. So there are some moment in life and it remains only in memory. Have you ever seen this particular beetle called dung beetle? You haven't seen? Some of you might have seen. But have you seen this particular Hollywood movie called as The Mummy? Mummies dekhi humne? You have seen that? Where a particular king died and then beetles ban jate hain. Okay. Beetles. So dung beetles, whenever cows or buffaloes or elephants in the jungle lay the fresh dung, they all come flying, okay, and they start fighting to have this particular premium resource. Very important resource for dung beetle. Dung beetle, we do not know which university they have attended. They will make a ball or sphere, okay. It's amazing. There is no, leukine in it. It's a nice ball. They will make dung ball like this. They will keep on rolling. And you know how do they make it? They make this ball without looking at it. Their hand legs will be like this, or piche ki wo jo tange hai, they will be rolling and they make it. So wonderful. It's a magic, okay, in front of you. They will roll this egg. And then what do? The female will inject the eggs inside. They have ovipositor, like the sting of the honeybee. They have a syringe-like things. So they will inject and they will lay the eggs inside. Because many of the dung of the herbivores have got cellulose which have not been digested. So, these young eggs, after they become caterpillar and larva, they will be eating on those particular undigested cellulose. So, this beetle fighting for the dung is to protect, is to take care of their child, is a kind of parental care, they have to do it. As it is a dung item, many of the herbivores have no interest to look at them and consume. So, they are safe, well protected. After that the young beetle comes out. This particular dung beetle is also culturally very important. You have seen this movie called The Mummy, so you know how important it is. Many of the symbols, many of the markers and identity of the monarch is represented in the form of this kind of animal, totems. So, it is very interesting. You, if you happen to look at the Greco-Roman Empire, at some point of time honeybee is always found in the coins, because they considered honeybee as the symbol of fertility. And in the case of Egyptian civilization, the beetle is considered to be one of the very, very pious and important animal that takes care of your soul, right. So, interestingly, dung beetle, but this is the wastage, this is the waste of a cow, but this is the life giving resources for a particular species of the insect. So, there is no wastage in nature. It is very interesting. You already know about this, the costliest coffee in the world. Yeah. How much it costs? Any idea? Costliest coffee? I think seen you. The costliest coffee? What is the costliest coffee that you consumed in recent time, Starbucks or whatever? कितने का है? One coffee कितने का आता है Starbucks में? तो अच्छा वाला जो. Yes? 800. Okay. But this particular coffee I am talking about is a coffee where the coffee planters will provide the coffee beans or the berry to this animal called civet, and civet will lay the dung, and in the dung the coffee seeds are found, and they wash and sell in the market with a new premium price. You and I cannot consume. I need to have a blockbuster movie, then only I will be able. So costly, because people like the pungency that it has, thanks because of this coffee traveling the digestive canal of the civet. Civet में एक character है. The civet, when they are being chased by the predator, they urinate, and the urine of this particular civet is so obnoxiously smell that predators say, oh, if urine is so bad, then what might be the muscle of this animal? Come on, let me. So, it is a defensive character, but that particular smell, when it is imprinted in your coffee bean, it is treated as one of the best coffee in the world, right. And this particular coffee has lot of unethical dimension now, because in many of the coffee planters, they capture the wild civets, and the poor animal is not allowed to eat anything except coffee bean. Super the sam to coffee bean. So, and they will be waiting for that fellow to give them their costly bean. So, it is a very unethical way of treating an animal. So, there is no wastage in nature. Number 2, there is no free lunch. There is no free lunch. It seems very simple statement, but it is a value laden statement. What does it mean here? There is no free lunch. How many of you have taken free lunch? Many a time? Where? In temples, in Gurudwara. But do you think this is a free lunch? Somebody have invested in it, right? Only thing that you didn't invest it, you invest your time to consume, stand in the queue, but somebody have earned that particular resources to let you avail, है ना? ऐसा तो नहीं कि you go to the, what is your good name? So it's not something like Kiran is coming and visiting the Gurudwara and the God is very happy that please take it. Somebody have invested, somebody have cooked, and that's why you are, okay. It's not free, okay. It's not coming free of cost. So like this, every predator has to have hunting expedition, run, chase, कई बार चोट भी लगते हैं. And when 2, 3, 4 of the buffaloes are there, many a time you might have seen the lions and the tiger kill by plundering all the, okay, with the help of their horns. Only when you see these documentaries for 1 hour, you say, oh, tigers are killing. No, absolutely, this is wrong. Many of them, it's a pathetic condition when tigers and the lions, when they become aged, they die in a very horrible manner, okay. So they don't have any food, they cannot hunt. Sometimes they are killed by their companions with whom he was going for hunting expedition few days ago. So it's a very serious game among them. But anyway, there is no free lunch. Okay, the story, like in a jungle there used to be a king, a tiger, and every day he was eating something. One day a rabbit's turn came, he went to the lion, and lion, there is another lion, he brought it to the whale and he jumped and died. It's all Aesop's fable story, cannot be true here. Even the greatest animal in the jungle has to spend time to hunt. ऐसा नहीं कि he just opened the mouth and the poor other animals are coming that, my lord, please open further, I want to go inside and be a part of food. There is no food like that, right? So there is no free lunch. Everyone has to struggle to survive. Everyone has to invest time, energy, okay, then only. So there is no free lunch. There is what? And third one, last one, the law of ecology is there is or are relationships. There is relationships among the components, that is living and the non-living components of environment. ये एक और principle, एक और rule है. So the first rule is ecology में there is no wastage of, okay, energy, we can say. Okay. There is a universal conservation of energy and mass, that is also going to be true. So there is no wastage, there is no free lunch, and there is a relationship. Is it okay? Now, after this, let me ask a question to you. If the resources is limited, competition will definitely come. And the space is also one of the resources, right? The earth's dimension, is it increasing or decreasing? It is same for the last so many millions of years. I mean, the size of the earth is not increasing. Only the forests are getting destroyed and converting it into our agricultural land. Let us not think about it also. One thing is clear, that there is only one earth, right? There is only one earth. And there are limited habitats in the earth. Every place is not habitable, okay? In the geysers, for example, in the Kalahari desert, middle, only few species. You don't expect a tropical rainforest there, right? We have only one earth. We have a very finite earth. Before that, what happened? We waged war, First World War, Second World War, then Cold War. That guy died, okay, 2 days ago. You heard about the perestroika and then the Communist Party, Mikhail Gorbachev, Ronald Reagan, then the Cold War finished. We were the guys born during the peak of the Cold War. Yeah. When I was growing up, at that particular point of time in 1985, 86, 87, okay, if you are a good student who goes to the school regularly, you will be writing a lot of essay competitions on nuclear armament, disarmament, Cold War, okay, mushroom cloud. Every local community, every community house will have a seminar on nuclear warfare. And very interestingly, during our preparation of civil war also, every time the UPSC will be asking 2 or 3 names of missiles, which is a rare occasion now. Then you have to remember air to space and space to water, so what kind of missiles are there and what is the range. It used to be asked because it was an issue. Okay. So, during this particular time when you are at that particular point of time, it was so common about the Cold War, right? What will happen? The world will be ended. Please remember, First World War, Second World War, even in the peak of the Cold War, people tend to think that the Earth's resources is infinite. I can use as much as it is possible. That is exactly what you did in First World War and Second World War, right? It was in 1968 for the first time humans started going to the moon, started taking the picture of the Earth from the space and came to realize that the Earth is only one and is so fragile and is so beautiful. Just imagine yourself and your perspective will change like anything. यहाँ पे you are fighting, you are amassing the wealth, but for the first time you are outside the Earth and you started seeing the Earth there, your home. Okay? And it is what? It is revolving around the sun. It is floating in the space. What will happen to it? If something happened to it, do I have another home? People realize it. 1968. Earlier it was Sputnik, then it was Apollo missions, right? Then we started realizing that this particular wrong idea that the resources of the world is infinite is wrong. Okay? The Earth is very finite. We have only one planet Earth. That's how you have 1972, the Earth Summit was held in Stockholm. Indira Gandhi went there and said, what? Pollution and poverty, they are very much closely linked. If you are shouting that Indians are very much polluting, it is because we are poor. Allow us to be rich like you, we will not be polluting. That's what she said. And now we are using it in something which is called as common but differential responsibility. We all are commonly responsible for polluting, but responsibility of taking care should be not equally distributed. I think the responsibility of taking care of the clean air should be borne more by the Western world, because they are the one who have been injecting carbon dioxide. That caused global warming for the last 100 and 200 years. Ours is a story of 20 years, 30 years, right? But what about them? So they have to bear. That is what Indira Gandhi preempted, 1972. Okay, 1972 for the first time give you this information that we really need to take care of our environment. Otherwise our development is at stake. So my question to you is, we have only one planet Earth, but how many species do we have? Your NCERT book says that we have 2 million different species, and so many millions might be still there to be discovered, not discovered yet, and so many might have already gone into extinction because we have destroyed them even before we identify them. Question is, we have only one planet Earth, but there are 2 million species. How is it possible? What I want to say is what? We have only one planet Earth from where all the resources for our living is coming. As it is only one Earth, so there is a limitation, right? But we have 2 million species. How is it possible? What has gone wrong here? You have only one house, but you have 2 million individuals here. The house is not becoming bigger. Okay. So how is it possible? Then comes this particular theory in ecology like Gaia hypothesis. Okay. My mother had given 14 of us, let's say, but do you think that my mother is loving my brother more than me? I don't think so. Okay. A normal mother will be taking care of all the children equally. Gaia is called as the Greek goddess of the Mother Earth. Okay? हम जितने भी नखरे करते लाइफ में, the mother is always taking care of it, right? So the earth is something like this. We are plundering, we are destroying, but the earth is still taking care of us. So what is there in this particular planet Earth that makes it so strong? Okay? And please remember, the answer lies in relationship. Okay? It is because of the ecological relationship that so many of the species are able to coexist together. Kaise? Your waste is my food item. When I die, there will be some other who are waiting for this moment to decompose my body and get the energy out of it. Okay? There will be one particular plant and there will be certain insects doing the pollination, then they are cooperating, right? It is because of the cooperation that when I grew up, we used to have 22 members in our family. 22 members. I am not exaggerating. I come from a place 46 kilometers away from the Imphal city. We live in a joint family. Okay? My grandfather, my youngest aunt is of the same age with my brother. Okay? My grandmother and father has given 14 children. Okay? Guinness World Book Record. Okay? All of us stayed in the same room. My uncle, after getting married, stayed in one corner. My father, we all three of us were born already in the corner left, and we all had a nice dinner every day. And the dinner will be conducted by our grandfather, who was सबसे corner पे, and everyone will be looking at him. When will he go out? And we will enjoy more. Everyone is ready to help. जल्दी खाए, जल्दी निकल जाए. The moment he goes out, then it is a gala party for every one of us. We can talk, we can gossip, but when he is there, I do not know what kind of power he was having. Okay? He was an agriculture farmer, but that was it. But now when I look at the story, like Hrithik Roshan divorced with his wife, but Hrithik Roshan's might be living in a particular room which is 400 times bigger than my grandfather's house. But we 22 lives very happily. But the palace made by Hrithik Roshan is not comfortable even for two people, because they are not cooperating each other. As simple as that. So if you cooperate, right, then coexistence is possible. How do you cooperate? There is a study of ecology. Okay? That is the reason why, see, we are very unhappy, human population is increasing. At the same time, we said that diversity should be increased more. Okay? More diversity, more relationship. Okay? And if there is a more relationship, then what happens? More resilient. Right? So diversity is a proxy for development now. That is the reason why you are doing afforestation. That is the reason why you are now what? Making wetlands to Delhi. Okay? Diversity increases relationship, and that increases resilience, which will help you in adapting to a changed conditions. Okay? So this is very, very important. So we have one Earth, one planet Earth, but we have 2 million species, is all because of relationship, ecological relationship. Okay? So that's the beauty of this particular subject, and that is the reason why the new policies and programs, we talk about increasing the diversity. And when the species is newly discovered, you feel happy. Why? Because this particular species might be helping us, that particular system, not only the utilitarian value that it might be giving you some drugs, it may be having some kind of chemical, that is also okay. But newer discovery, why we accept it with happiness is, it will bring, it is one of the important functions, okay. It is one of the agency to become more resilient, right. So these are the 3 rules, and ecology, and who coined this particular term, Ernest Haeckel, and Ernest Haeckel coined, but the idea of this relationship was born thanks to his teacher called as Alexander Humboldt, right? This was what we have learned. After studying this particular rules, regulations, okay, characteristics of ecology, let me just give you a brief note on ecosystem. So that will complete our study of ecology, environment and ecosystem, okay. The three big E's, okay, ecosystem. Now this particular relationship or ecology is so important that people are talking about, I was reading an article on mental health and biodiversity, and they were giving the example of coronavirus, okay. Mental health and nowadays people are talking that if there is a depression, then urban areas should have more park areas, more open spaces, and the mental depressions and mental ill health will be challenged, okay, successfully. So there are records. In German they have done 400, okay, subjects, and the report is cited by the World Health Organization and also very interestingly by United Nations Environmental Program. That biodiversity and the mental health, they are very closely related. It's very interesting. As we have, you are from Delhi, but when you go to Delhi Zoo, I think you will be feeling recreated, recreational, and educational, and you will find, okay, sense of inspiration, happiness and motivation when you look at those particular animals and different plants. Ecosystem, let us say. What is ecology? Relationship. इस room में what is the relationship between you and me? A teacher and student. This is ecology. But if I ask you, where do you stay in this particular room? The room becomes your ecosystem. Please remember, ecosystem is that space, and the relationship between the living and the non-living in that space is what is called ecology. Are you getting what I am saying? So please write, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is defined as ecosystem is defined as the open system is defined as any open system I use this particular word open system, not I, the person who had given this term, use this particular open concept, open system from the rules of thermodynamics, right, which says an open system is a system where there is exchange of heat and chemicals, materials inside and outside. What is the opposite of the open system? Closed system, and also they have called another term, isolated, close, okay. ये closed system नहीं है, it's open. Why? Energy is allowed to come, energy is allowed to go out, right, and materials can come from outside, and from here also the materials can go. This is called open system. So it is any open system where there is or are where there is or are relationships among the living and the non-living. Any open system where there is a relationship, where there are relationships among the living, components, bracket, biotic components, close, and the non-living components, ब्रैकेट में abiotic, components, okay. So any open system, okay, whether it is a small or big, where there is a relationship between living and the non-living, is called as ecosystem. Can I call this room as an ecosystem? Yes, we are living and we are interacting with the air, temperature, wind, right? But this is not a natural ecosystem. It is more of a human design, what? Artificial ecosystem. Can I call an aquarium as an ecosystem? Yes. Why? The fish is there, is interacting with the water, you are giving oxygen, some plantation is taking place. So, living and non-living are interacting, that is why the fish is swimming. So, any system where there is an interaction between living and a non-living is what is called as ecosystem. Can a single drop of water can be called as an ecosystem? Yes. When?
So if there are microorganisms.
Yeah. When there is a small organism in this water bottle interacting with the water, interacting with the sunshine, do some photosynthesis with algae, there is also an ecosystem. But this is not an ecosystem now, because it is a sealed water bottle, and I am expecting that this is the distilled or the mineralized water which have been already fired by some kind of laser, so that certain germs might be killed. So, it is a what? Highly sanitized potable water. So, I do not expect any living organism here. Agar hai, so you can go to the court. Okay. So, but by the way, this mineral water changed the tourism industry like anything, right? The Americans, the Western people were so much reluctant to go to the third world countries as a tourist. गया यहाँ पे dysentery में मर गए, गया वहाँ पे cholera हो गया. But it's after the coming of the water bottle, the tourism industry changed like anything. The Britishers coming, Americans coming with water bottle, and whenever they see these water bottles, it is something like the sea explorer in 17th century finding a coconut in the island. Okay, coconut hoga to I can be alive. It's something like this, because this is taken for granted, hai na? Askal, when somebody is giving you glass of water, you okay, I'm baad mein pee lunga type. But if you do it to people, we have changed. But this water bottle was introduced in the fashion parade in US, I think in the 80s, and it changed. And today we are living in the world of plastics. A guy got Nobel Prize for polyethylene. Now another guy is going to be given a Nobel Prize to break this. That's a reality. Okay. Anyway, many a time you might have seen this incident. Your football field or your cricket ground is dry, no grasses, no puddles, but June and July rainfall happens. You have not gone to the cricket and the football field for 10 days. What happened on the 11 days when you go there? Some frogs were jumping when you are riding your bicycles, and some water bodies, you go there, some insects comes out, mosquito comes out. That means that had become an ecosystem now, because there is an interaction between living and non-living. That's why they are alive. So, please remember, a single drop of water can also be an ecosystem, provided there is a relationship between living and non-living. It can be as big as the Pacific Ocean, or it can be as majestic as the planet Earth. Yes, an ecosystem. The whole earth can also be called as one big ecosystem, right? A small pond is also an ecosystem. So, it depends on the person who is studying, right? If I have to study the insects of a particular river basin, that river basin is your ecosystem. If I have to see only a particular group of birds in a certain tree, that tree becomes your ecosystem. So, there is no hard and fast rule that ecosystem should be 1 square kilometers at least. No. Okay? It does not depend on the size. Okay? It depends on the person who is studying, what kind of questions you are asking. Suppose you want to study the mating behavior of the blue whale, can you study this in aquarium? I cannot, right? So, you have to go to the ocean to study, right? Very interestingly, the blue whales are communicating each other, male and female, by the Dwij song. People have come out with a sonogram, okay, sound waves. When the male and female are communicating, a time will come when they started singing in a synchronous manner. Then only the threshold level of aggression reduced. They will come together, mate, baby is given birth, okay, right? So very interesting. So to do that, you have to go to the ocean. You have to swim along with them. Then only you will be able to understand what they are doing, right? Or otherwise, you go to the prey and predator relationship, right? Suppose if I say that, look, my dear students, please find out whether this particular principle is true or not, that the size of the herbivores are controlled by the size of the predator, carnivores. Size का मतलब मैं number की बात कर रहा हूँ. Is it correct? Yes. If the population of the deer increases, I am expecting that the population of the tiger will also increase. If the tiger population increase more, it will have a pressure on the deer. Now the tiger will start starving, they will reduce. When the tiger population reduce, what will happen? The deer population will increase. This is predator-prey cycles. That is true in Corbett, that is also true in Canada. People have worked on, not on tiger, but on one cat which is called as lynx, and the snowshoe hare, rabbit. So what is true in Canada is also true in Jim Corbett. It was found to be true in Russia, in Moscow 1935, in the laboratory of a particular scientist called Gauze, in the test tube. In the test tube, he put paramecium. You know paramecium, have you heard about it? It's also called as animal cool slipper. It looks like a slipper. इस तरह के आपने देखा होगा कहीं आपकी जनरल साइंस में. He put paramecium caudatum, paramecium aurelia, छोटे छोटे जीव है, in the test tube, and he found that okay, if this paramecium is coming and they are eating this particular paramecium, the population goes down, then it increases. Exactly what is true in the tiger and the deer in Corbett, exactly what you see in Canada, in the rabbit and the cat. This is what is called ecological principles. What is true here will also be true, but they talk about the same pattern. That's why I said it's a very theoretically rigorous science. That is the reason why policymakers are saying that if you are making a particular biosphere reserve, the area should be big. We don't need a sanctuary which is fragmented. We don't need a national park which is bifurcated with national highways. Why do we say like that? Because we learn from the ecological principles. Habitat intake होने में ज़्यादा अच्छा है. So it is theoretical, but it does not close its boundary there. It has a lot of applications. Okay. For example, what is your idea about the linking of the rivers of North India and South India? If you are talking only about the availability of water, it's wrong. You also must be thinking about it as a habitat. Don't think about the rivers and water and agricultural water. Think about a habitat and think about the livelihoods of the people, right? Who knows, if you connect the big river system of north and south, there will be plenty of water available, but that available water may also give you opportunity for many of the invasive species, right? Some poisonous algae which was not available in this part of Kaveri basin, you will find, and it will be uncontrollable. There is one incident which is true, when the river Niles, that brings a lot of fertilizers, but this particular river Niles was dammed, okay, 1970s. They took a huge loan from World Bank and they constructed the Aswan Dam. Nehru copied some of the statement given by the Prime Minister of Egypt at that time. Modern temple, जो हम लोग use किया था. And this guy was also one of the new ruler of Egypt. He said, this big dams are the new temples for Egypt. So he took a lot of loan and this dam was constructed, because it gives seasonal flood and that brings fertility to the river Nile valley. So he dammed lot of water and lot of agricultural land getting water for irrigation. It's a good, fantastic idea, and lots of electricity was produced. But while developing this dam, they think only about electricity and water. They did not think about the other things. After 1, 2, 3 season, there is a problem. You are giving lot of water, but Egypt is a tropical country. Water gets evaporated from your agricultural field. What will remain is the salt. है ना? आप पानी उबालते हैं, when all the water vapors goes out, what remains there is a salt. Okay? You go to Kutch, the table salt is collected like that. You bring the salt water in the field, called salt pan, allow the evaporation, what remains is the salt. So your agricultural field is salinated. Number 2, they are not going to do agriculture. Number 2, there are some of these particular animals which are called as the flatworms. हमारे cows, buffaloes में सबसे ज़्यादा impact इसकी होती है, okay, which is called as liver fluke. ये जो animals की liver जो है ना, that brings appetite. The liver is affected by liver flukes. It's a flatworm, flat-like worm. When the animal's liver is affected, the animal is no longer wishing to eat. If the animal is not eating, then it is not healthy. It is not healthy, then farmers are affected. And why this liver flukes is increasing? Because liver fluke के बच्चे जो है ना, they live in the snail, freshwater snail. And freshwater snail vegetable, aquatic vegetable खाती है. So in Egypt, when there was no dam, water recedes, the cycle was there. Even if the snails were there, they cannot live throughout the year. The aquatic vegetations are gone, which will be the resting places for this particular animal, parasites. But now you have water throughout the year. So this aquatic vegetation is present throughout the year. Snail is present throughout the year. And the life cycles of this animal can be completed throughout the year. So it was an ecological disaster, Aswan Dam. Instead of bringing more agricultural land, it brings more salt and salinations. So please remember, whenever you design or do any kind of activities, it is also important to understand the ecology, that means the relationship. ये relationship ही तो है ना, how this liver flukes is living and how it is connected with the snail, and the snail is eating this vegetable, the food chain, food web, energy transfer. This is what I am talking about, ecological relationship. If you are disrespecting this relationship, it's over. Many of you wish to have chocolate, but chocolate comes from the cocoa plant that is mainly coming from Madagascar now. Madagascar is a country which produced the largest amount of cocoa for the manufacture of chocolate. But cocoa beans are produced only when the flower is pollinated by the mosquitoes. That is the relationship. In the cocoa farm, you spray the insecticides, tomorrow you will not have a chocolate, because there are certain mosquitoes that pollinates the flowers of the cocoa plant, and that is why we have a cocoa. So let us celebrate this relationship. Okay? The beauty of this particular subject is celebrate the relationship, celebrate the diversity. That will surely help you in designing Green Delhi, for example, let us say the city where we are living now for our preparation. What type of plants are you going to be planting in the roadways of Delhi? It is a big question. Horticulture ministry will like to plant which is ornamental, that will require 4 mali, they will require 5 of the jal board people to spray water, and that particular flower blooms after 6 months and it is gone, because for another round of plantation you will be releasing money. But an ecologist will think about what? Bagal mein rich forest hai, nobody planted, but it is more green than every green. So that means why should not we plant the plant which is indigenous to Delhi? It will take time, 1 year or 2 years of lot of care, but once it is gone, 50 years, forget about it. It will take care of itself. That is the kind of sense that we need to develop. Indigeneity, native species, right? So, ecological disaster. One more thing, some of you might have already involved in those particular program. Recent few years, there is one particular person who mobilized a lot of youths for rivers, for example, for the plantation. It is so good intentionally. It is so good in intention, but sometimes so good intention cannot be replicated in terms of executed like it is. It must be executed not to that particular scale, right? You have thousands of people who are willing to do what you say, but it is important to remember ourselves when to say and to what scale. Okay? So, before connecting the rivers, every possible rivers, don't you think that it is important for you to find the river tributaries first, the tributaries of a river? Try to connect it, try to regenerate it. That is exactly what that particular topography tells us. Instead of this have more water, this have less water, this have more water, and connect it. That is not a great equalizer. So, we need to fine tune ourselves. So, our understanding of the subject is going to help us in appreciating the relationship. So, this particular term called ecosystem, okay, before I leave, was given by, the term ecosystem that you have written was given by Sir A. G. Tinsley in 1935. A. G. Tinsley in 1935 was the first person who coined the term called ecosystem that you just have written. So, ecosystem is any open system where there is relationship between or interaction between living and the non-living, biotic and abiotic, okay, by A. G. Tinsley. So, A. G. Tinsley ki pehle to Ernest Haeckel was talking about ecology. Why don't you call him as the person who coined ecology or ecosystem? I think before Columbus discovered America formally, America was already occupied by many of the Red Indians. Why don't we give credits to them? Before you discover a new species of banana from Andaman and Nicobar Island, the people in Andaman and Nicobar Island is eating this banana for the last 10,000 years. Why don't you call them as the discoverer? New frogs are discovered from the Sahyadri Hills, but the tribals in the Sahyadri Hills in the Western Ghat is cooking and eating this particular frog for so many. So, I am telling you reality. But why don't you call them as a discoverer? Is it because they are uneducated? Then why? They did not document, and what else? Document तो किया होगा, और this type of हमने देखा है ना? Look, in science or geography, whatever it is, a person is called as a discoverer. A person is credited as the person who coined it when that particular person not only document, met the public first. Okay? By doing what? By comparing with all the available resources and prove that it is a novel finding. Kaise? If I go to Arunachal Pradesh and I found a particular tribal groups who are eating on a particular monkey, it's a reality. There the tribal people, okay, stigmatize a person if you are eating fish. Fish eating is a taboo, okay. You are eating fish if you are a madman. You are eating fish if you are not respecting the culture, because in that particular community, when a person dies, the body is put in the river and fishes are eating it. That's there, okay. So, fish is not something that you should be eating, but they allow eating monkey. So, these particular groups of the Arunachal tribe is eating this monkey, but why in 2007? Some people are claiming for the first time there is a new species of the world. It is because this group of people had gone there, find out its habit and habitat, and start comparing all the thousands of monkeys available in the world one by one, and found out that this monkey is different from all the known monkeys of the world. Columbus discovered America because all the navigation route at that particular time compared, this is the new route. Okay. So, in science or in any of this particular study, a person is credited as the person who coined, who discovered, who invented, if your finding is documented well and prove that is different from others. Okay. So, we will resume the class tomorrow. Tomorrow we are starting with ecosystem ecology. It is very important for preliminary examinations. So, please come in the class reading the question paper earlier, and I will suggest please revise NCERT 12th standard biology, the last unit 13, 14, 15, 16 chapter. It is a fantastic book. Okay. It is the best in the market. Questions? The question, online question, yes, it is NCERT 12th standard biology, the last unit, not the whole chapters, the last 13, 14, 15, 16. ठीक है गौरव, यही